Okay, everybody, we're going to get started now with Trash Talk. Thank you for coming. My name is Zach Eichholz. I am the new assistant to the Community Services Director, who is in the room behind you. Maybe he'll make an appearance later. He waved. My job is going to be helping assist the city with sustainability and environmental efforts, including recycling. And I come from Florida. I was born and raised in Broward County. I'm currently I'm getting my master's from the Florida Institute of Technology down in Melbourne, Florida, and I have a degree in sustainability studies from the same institution, which I got in 2016. In May, hopefully I'll come full time here, so cool stuff. Like I said, I'm a native of Florida. I love this state. I worked in the city of Satellite Beach before this as an intern. I helped write their sustainability action plan for their city and helped them adopt it over the course of 2 years. Still an ongoing process. They're doing really well. And part of that was recycling, how to reinvigorate their initiatives there and get people more involved with how to do it properly. And today, hopefully, we can do that with this talk. There's a lot of people here, which is good, because you guys can go out and tell the public what you now know. I also wanted to introduce Stephanie Johnson. Say hi, Stephanie. She's the community engagement specialist. She's the one that posts all this stuff on the internet, and obviously it worked because there's a lot of people here. So, good job, Stephanie. And then we have Dan Robertson in the back. He's Waste Pro District Manager. So he's waving. Waste Pro is the city's waste company, primary waste company. So after my talk, we'll open it up to discussion and whatnot. But also during the talk, if you have a question, feel free to ask. We want this to be an engaging thing. And Dan could probably answer a few questions too if I don't know them. Because we're all trying to learn here. So it's an ongoing process. Recycling in the United States is a very fluid thing right now. So with that, why don't we get started? Cool. Okay, can everybody see the screens okay? Okay. So today's agenda, we're going to go through the problem with trash and recycling, a brief history of recycling and single-stream recycling, the current state of recycling, and a lot has changed in the last 2 years. Who is the city's waste service provider? Where does my waste go? What is recycling? The good, the bad, the alternatives, and who to contact about trash and recycling related questions. So let's start with the problem. If you're here, you probably already have a good understanding of maybe what's going on in terms of plastic pollution and general waste issues around the planet. 9.2 billion tons of plastic has been produced since the 1950s, which is an unbelievable amount of trash. And the problem with that is it's pretty much all still here. A good example that I wanted to give you guys is if the Pilgrims came over when they came to America back 400 years ago and they used plastic water bottles, those plastic water bottles would still be around on this planet today, probably in the same form that they were thrown away in. So of that 9.2 billion tons, 9% has been recycled, 12% has been incinerated, and 79% is in landfills or just in the environment. 34 billion tons will be produced by 2050, which is amazing, at current rates if nothing changes. And America's current recycling rate is 35%, which is actually the best it's ever been. But as we'll talk about, that might change because of what's recently happened with China. Just some other crazy facts before I move on. I wanted to share this one. 1 million plastic bottles are bought around the world every minute. And when you expand it out into a day with 1,440 minutes, you get 1,440,000,000 plastic bottles every day. So that's the type of situation we're dealing with. Yeah, unbelievable stuff. Most of it is flowing into the oceans from rivers, and most of it is coming from Asia, which we can see by these photos here. This is in New Delhi, India, in the upper left, and in the lower right, we have Manila, Philippines. There is water under that, unbelievable, and this gets washed into the oceans. And as you can see by the next slide, it has really detrimental effects. I don't know if you guys recently saw this article that came out about a whale that was found in the Philippines with 88 pounds of plastic inside of its stomach where it choked to death on it. So really sad. But this is not just an animal thing. We're not just here because we see seagulls with plastic wrapped around their necks and whatnot. This is a human thing, and this is something that also affects America. As you can see by the next slides, we're not immune to this. That's Miami Beach after spring break. That's pretty bad. And then Long Beach, California, that's the Los Angeles River, and that's headed towards the ocean. And someone's trying to clean it up there, thankfully. But we have some issues to deal with. One Where did recycling start? Recycling started, it's kind of always been a thing. Back when goods weren't made as they were now, where they're so readily available, people had to save things. They had to make use of what they had. And World War II and World War I, recycling became really big to help the war effort. Things were streamlined so that things could be saved to make tanks, bullets, and sent over to Europe and Japan. And you can see posters like this. These are actual posters of the time. They actually are pretty good, especially the one on the right, which shows you separating the bins out of what to recycle with the different types of metals there. And this was considered, like a patriotic thing. Do your part. This is really good. Next slide, please. In the 1950s, plastic as we know it today really entered the mainstream, and large-scale use was adopted. TV dinners became a huge thing. It was a novelty, and we wouldn't be what we are today if we didn't have plastic. It certainly had its place in history, and it has benefited us, but it does have its negative effects. 1980, Woodbury, New Jersey becomes the first U.S. city to have curbside recycling. So not until 1980 did we have that. And these bins right here is actually a picture from Vancouver, Canada, where it is showing recycling where things are placed in separate bins. This is not an example of single-stream recycling. The next slide, we'll talk about that. Single-stream recycling comes about in the 1990s, really. A few communities in California began adopting it. It's really a system where instead of having to sort things yourself, you can place it all in one bin. So this is your plastic bottles, your cans, your bags and whatnot. Everything goes in the same bin. And by 2005, 1/5 of all locations within the United States are employing single-stream recycling. 2010, the number reaches more than 2/3. And then by 2012, 248 materials recovery facilities, or MRFs, are in the U.S. in use, and we will talk about what that facility is in a moment. The real advantage, as you can see here, to single-stream recycling is the fact that you don't have to sort it, and it increases the quantity of items that you can get, but unfortunately, that reduces your quality of the items you can get, and that has been the real drawback of single-stream recycling. Next slide, please. So let's talk about what's going on with recycling right now. China, that's the word that comes up usually with this. Since 1992, China has imported 45% of the world's recyclables. Now, if you include Hong Kong, which is now a part of China, that percentage goes up to 70%, which is unbelievable. In 2017, the National Sword Policy, as they called it, took hold in China for the protection of the environment and their own people's health. As you probably are aware, China has incredible environmental issues that they're dealing with, everything from plastic pollution to air pollution. CO2 emissions are off the charts. So it makes sense that they said, hey, wait a minute, we're filling up over here. I don't think we can handle this anymore. So they stopped it. And to be more specific, they didn't really stop their imports. They made a contamination rate on their imports 0.5%, which, as I've been told by Waste Management when I toured their facility, that's pretty near impossible to meet that contamination rate. So that's really the big issue right there. And U.S. cities cannot cope with this new amount of waste because we simply never had the infrastructure to deal with it because we always sent it overseas. And so as a result of that, many areas are either just straight up burning their recyclables in incinerators or dumping it in landfills, which is very sad. This slide, I think, puts into perspective the issue that we're having right now. So plastic waste imports millions of metric tons in 2016. Look at how big China's square is compared to the rest of the world, or some of the other industrialized nations. That is how much waste they were taking. And now that square is essentially gone. So where does all that go? And that's the big issue. I think that's a really sobering chart right there. Next, please. So who's the city's waste service provider? As I already said briefly, it's Waste Pro, primary contractor. They have been so since 2009 and contracted through 2024. They employ single-stream recycling, household and commercial, and they service city parks and all facilities. So where does your waste go? When you put it in the garbage or you put it in a recycling bin, where does it go? If it's trash, solid waste, it'll go to Brevard County's landfills located in Cocoa and Melbourne. There are also 2 other facilities called transfer stations that I'm aware of, and you could, Dan, probably correct me if later on, but I wanted to focus on the landfills because those are what we see those, obviously. They're huge mounds in the ground that fill up with garbage, essentially. So there's one in Cocoa, one in Melbourne, and when I went to the waste management facility that I'll talk about in a moment, they revealed to me that Brevard County's available landfill space has about 20 years of time left. That's around 2040. The recycling, where does that go? It goes to Material Recycling Facility, the MRF, as I said earlier, and that is in Cocoa. 8,500 tons of material go through this Cocoa facility every month, and there's only one of them in the county. Recyclable shipments that go there, on average, will see 25 to 35% contamination. So you can see that Chinese contamination rate, how impossible it is to meet that if this is what we're getting right here. And the biggest contaminant that they see is plastic bags. Next, please. So here's some satellite photos of these two landfill locations. The one on the upper left, that is the Solid Waste Management Department's Central Disposal Facility in Cocoa. It is 957 acres. Site 1, as you can see labeled there, according to their own website, said it reached capacity in 2018, which was last year. And then Site 2, which is newer, has about 20 years left. And then the Sarno landfill in Melbourne, much smaller, 125 acres. It will reach capacity roughly around 2023. And I remind everybody that Brevard County's population is growing a lot. So something to think about too when we're trying to figure out where to put our waste. Next, please. So recyclables. This is Waste Management's Material Recovery Facility, or MRF. This is looking into where they bring in all the recyclables through trucks. And I took most of these pictures that you're about to see and videos. And I'll just go through and kind of describe what's going on in each photo and give you some more facts about it. It was built in 2014. It runs almost 24 hours a day from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. And they do clean it every night, which is unbelievable. Next, please. So behind where you just saw those trucks going, the image in the upper left is what's happening. The trucks come in, they dump it, a front-end loader takes it to a conveyor belt, and they begin sorting it, which is what these people are doing here in the image in the lower right. And you might think, hey, it's 2019, we're really technological now, we do a lot of cool stuff, but this process comes down to people manually sorting all day. And naturally, we're only human, they miss things. And what they're doing is trying to take out all the contaminants, such as plastic bags, and throwing them down chutes there that you can see right next to that gentleman there on the far right, where they get taken somewhere else. This conveyor belt keeps going. Next slide, please. So this is the plastic bag issue. If they miss it, which obviously they do, this is what happens to their machinery. These gentlemen here are manually unclogging their machines, which can take upwards of 4 hours at a time to do, cutting into that 5 to 2 range of time, which reduces their capacity of what they can sort through and bring in. So this is really bad. Next, please. This is a video. I just wanted to show everybody, this is all the time. Look at how much waste is coming in all the time. It's just a sea of plastic bottles and paper. Inside this facility, they don't give tours to the public. It's hot, it's dirty, it's loud. It kind of smells too. Not as bad as you might think, but it kind of smells. And this is where your recyclables are going. Waste Pro delivers them here, even though, as far as I know, it's run by Waste Management. Next, please. So this is a cool video. This is probably one of the more technological things you see in the facility. This is a machine that is sorting out aluminum cans, and you can see them get chucked right off the conveyor belt past where those other goods are falling directly below. They go a little bit further into a separate bin, which is really cool. They use a sensor with light that can determine, actually, I'm not even going to speak to that. I don't know how they determine that. But I know it uses light, and I believe lasers. Dan, you might be able to say afterwards. I'm sorry? Oh, you didn't say. It chucks the cans with little air blast further along so they can get baled, which we'll also see a picture of that in a moment. These two pictures here show some of the items that they found that are not recyclable, which are also located on stage. Those are all drill batteries, just rows and rows. Computer parts, those are keyboards. There's a full Dell laptop right there. There were toilet seats, Plastic bags, obviously. They find weapons. Um, they find a lot of weird stuff. Car batteries. It's unbelievable. Next, please. So this is those aluminum cans. This image to the upper left, I really like that image. I think it's just a real collage of society. It shows what we do and how much we're throwing away. And the expanded shot is the one in the lower right, where those bales, that's about 3 people tall. It's probably a good 15 feet. And they get money for this. Aluminum cans are pretty good still, fortunately, to recycle. But next, please. So speaking of recycling, what should we recycle? So here at the City of Cape Canaveral, we're trying to make things really, really simple. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Or keep it stupid, simple. Something like that. Some variation of that. And what I want to put in people's heads is this term, the core recyclables. I came up with that myself. Hopefully it catches on. And what we're going to do is these items right here, flattened and unsoiled cardboard, newspapers, non-shredded paper, it's like office paper, construction paper, clean and empty plastic bottles, clean and empty aluminum cans. If we focus on these items right here, we're doing the right thing. They take these, no problem still. And we'll make a difference in our waste stream if we can concentrate on these items. And what we're going to do is this is the new signage that we'll start deploying around the city. About the same size, too, so that you can't miss this. It has minimal words, people don't like to read, and it has large pictures. On the bottom, it has some of the biggest offenders of recycling, often called wish cycling, where people think, I can recycle that, I wish for it to be recycled, but it actually doesn't. Plastic bags, big culprit of that. Some of them even they have the triangular symbol on them. So, what's with that? But they have to be recycled at a separate facility, and you can't put plastic bags in your residential bins. Food waste, all the time. One food thing goes in there, not good. And soiled pizza boxes with the oil and the cheese still on them, nope, can't do that. And glass. What's the deal with glass? So glass, as far as I understand it, can still be recycled. And it's in a contract of theirs that it must be recycled. At least this is from Waste Management's perspective. Waste Pro, if you want to talk about this after. Because I believe on the sheet, it does say glass. Yes, it does. So glass, when I went to the MRF, there were glass shards all over the ground. Super small pieces. They hurt the machinery. They affect workers because it can cut you. And there isn't really much economic value in recycling glass, unfortunately, because it's made of sand, and sand is everywhere. So, they take it, but if you could avoid it, I was told it was a good thing to do. So that's why we put glass on there as something that is probably you shouldn't recycle. And to be honest, when considering glass going to a landfill over a plastic bottle, which one will have a worse environmental impact? The plastic bottle. It'll leach chemicals. It will most likely never degrade. The glass bottle will just return to sand one day. Long, but at least it won't be putting chemicals. Yeah, and if it's broken down, maybe a little bit more. But plastic bottles can last literally millennia. So, next slide, please. So these are, the one on the left, obviously, is what I just showed you here, life-sized. I'll keep that. And the one on the right, these are stickers that we want to start putting on smaller office recycling bins. So, anybody can look and go up to it and be like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Aluminum cans, clean paper, plastic bottles. Boom, done. And then we have the city's website on the bottom if they want more information. Next, please. So this is, as I told you, I worked for the city of Satellite Beach before this. And this project was something that we tried there. It was actually my last project I did before I left and came to Cape Canaveral. And these signs, ours are bigger. We made ours better. This is what we did. This is at a beach access in the city. We put them at almost every beach access. And we put them next to any place that had a solid waste bin or recycling bin so that you could, it's literally in your face. And you can't not see it. if you're walking up to the bins. And then this is on the right. This picture is taken inside their city hall with those stickers that I just showed you. The logo was just changed out. Very simple. Next, please. So what not to recycle? Kind of went over this a little. Some of the biggest offenders: glass, food waste, soiled or waxed cardboard, styrofoam, big no-no, and then plastic bags. Plastic bags, if you want to recycle those, you can bring them to receptacles at big box stores: Walmart, Best Buy, Publix, Target. They usually have a receptacle in front of them that says plastic bag, please put here. No problem, put those there. Those are good to go. Next, please. So new slogan and alternatives. Let's talk about some of those. We all know the famous reduce, reuse, recycle. Perhaps of any aspiring environmentalists, probably one of the first terms you've ever heard is reduce, reuse, recycle. Recycling starts from a super young age for people, you know. But I would like to introduce a new word, a fourth word: refuse. This is a word that is coming on more and more and more. And if we want to really figure out how to solve our waste issue, let's just not make waste in the first place. Refuse it. Biggest things you can do to reduce your waste stream: stop using single-use plastics. Refuse it. Plastic water bottles, straws, balloons, utensils, bags, food containers. Just don't even use them. Buy reusable plastic items if you can and have to use. Example of that. This is a plastic bottle, obviously, but it's reusable. I'm going to use this for a very long time in my life. I'm keeping it out of a landfill. I'm keeping it out of the environment. Another great example is this. This is a shirt that my mom actually bought me from Brevard Zoo. This shirt is made of 6 plastic water bottles. So you're keeping plastic out of the environment, and you're keeping it within the economy, a circular economy, where, you know, that's really just the goal. We don't want plastics to go into the environment or to landfills, so let's reuse it. And let's buy items that use that reused material. And then if you don't want to use plastic at all, obviously use non-plastic items. And probably one of the best and most recent examples of that is the metal straw, you know, or a wood straw, or even a pasta straw. Those are, I have yet to use one of those, but I would really want to try one. This one's actually from Florida Tech, where I go to school. Next slide, please. So here's just a picture of some of those reusable items that you can use to try and streamline your waste. On the left there, we have a cloth reusable bag from the Kennedy Space Center. The middle there, that purple lid, that's a metal water container. The one next to it, behind the bag, is plastic, but it's a reusable water bottle, so you can use it for a very long time. And then one of my favorites in this photo is this bag here is a substitute for single-use Ziploc bags. This is a silicone bag that can actually be used as a substitute. My girlfriend, which that's hers, uses it all the time. It's water resistant, holds everything just as well as a normal Ziploc bag. Very cool. You could go to any box store and probably find that, or everybody's favorite friend, Amazon. Speaking of Amazon, they use cardboard boxes, thankfully, but inside they use plastic packaging, which is one of the worst items that, or one of the most, it's one of the biggest plastic users in the world right now is plastic packaging, because of companies like Amazon that come up so prevalently. Next, please. The foam ones, yeah. They do. Those are good. And you can find companies with the power of the internet. You have the ability to choose as a consumer what you want to buy. And the more that you go in the direction of green, these companies will take notice, because they will say, uh-oh, I'm losing money. I should probably go in the other direction and do what my consumer's doing. So who to contact for future questions? Kathy Condon, Senior Secretary, Community Services Director. That's her phone number. And then obviously the city's website, which goes over everything I just said, and we'll also have this presentation posted as a video. And this presentation itself will be available as a PDF file. It contains WastePro's website link, contact information. You can leave a compliment for WastePro. Um, as far as I know, the community is very happy with Waste Pro, so kudos to you guys. Great service, and you can request a pickup. Um, now it's time to open it up to questions. Anybody? Yes. I'll try and answer these the best I can. Dan, I might need your help for some of these.
Okay, so you talk about paper,
Hmm.
but what about catalogs? Anything
So,
that's selected?
what's does anybody have these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, on that big board right there, we put paper, and really only one type of paper because we wanted to just really keep it simple and we are limited with space. Paper can be opened up a little bit more. This recycling guide that they have is awesome. Okay? You can refer to this, and this everything on here is okay. So, brown paper bags, magazines, paper board cartons, cereal boxes without plastic liner, drink boxes, snack boxes, old newsprint, old corrugated containers, mixed residential paper. Um, you know, you can do that. Good question. Yes. Oh, yes. It's okay. Is that okay, Dan? I was told it was okay. It's preferred. There you go. I would just throw it in empty and clean with the lid on. I was also told to keep aluminum cans not crushed. Yes. The lid. That's a great question. What do you do with the lid? Dan, what should be done with the lid? When you
How about just leaving the lid partially on the can, not cutting it all the way off, just opening it up and then it's attached to the can?
It won't stay attached though when it's
mhm. I think the important thing to remember for the lid can debate, um, recycle the can cleaned, no matter what. You lose the lid, okay, oh well. You've recycled a bigger item and you've still got something in your recycling stream. You know, they say a good phrase to remember to cut down on contamination for recycling is when in doubt, throw it out. So I would just stick to that motto. And then just to,
Management tells us in Pittsburgh to throw the lid in the trash, do not recycle. I don't know here, but that's what the
they,
says in Pittsburgh.
when I went to the MRF, they didn't seem to care. Lid on, lid off. Yeah, I would just focus on what we can do here. And just, ma'am, before I answer your question, I just wanted to reiterate the question that was picked up for the video. Um, can you recycle your lid? Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. You can put that in with it. Mm-hmm. Yes.
With the cans, these are basically any can like that you get, that doesn't have the recycle symbol on it, you can still recycle those?
Yes, the metal cans. Can you recycle any can? Pretty much as if it's tin or aluminum. Yes.
Did I see someplace that, it's difficult or maybe you can't recycle if the contents are wet?
Uh, Dan, do you want to answer that? Okay.
Newspaper isn't? I mean, do I not put out my recycling on Tuesdays if it's raining?
No, most of us have bins. Yeah, these
Green bin?
green bins.
I think you, and Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You should put it in, because they will just separate it at the MRF. So if it gets wet and they don't want it, they'll get rid of it. But at least it made it there, and it could dry out by the time it gets there. It's paper or cardboard. As long as it's not dirty, I think that's the real big one, where there's, you can see food contamination on it or some type of oil in it. Yeah. Yes.
There's a paper label on the can, should we remove that
No.
at the bottom?
Is that correct? If you want. Lisa, could you go back? Go back to the can slides. Let's just look at the picture. There are labels on there. And lids. And it made it in the bale. So, yes.
I had a question, because I know that a lot of different counties in Florida have different recycling functions, I guess, ways of doing it. So are we just concerned about Brevard County?
For the sake of, yes, the question for the online people, are we just concerned about this county and its recycling abilities? Yes. This presentation in particular is meant to only discuss the cocoa facility that is taking our recyclables. So yes. Sir.
I was wondering how we get additional receptacles or recycling bins at our residence. The issue right now is we have one bin for entire condo unit, and every time I go out to recycle, it's overflowing, and there's stuff in the ground.
So the question was, how do we get more bins at our location? You can go to Waste Pro's website and request. Okay, trackies.
Is there a charge for that?
No charge. Yes.
I know this isn't a question for the local level, but as a professional in the industry, are you aware of any buzz for the state considering to other states for controlling.
Um,
We do not want to do that.
you bring up
Oh, you really do.
No, but the bugs, this, you mustn't have had bottles in your garage with bugs crawling in and out. That's a real bug problem.
Well, you just take them back on a regular basis.
No, we do not want recycling. Nope.
Not as long as I'm here alive, because I've been writing to 1974 when they started coming out with this garbage of wanting me to rinse out my bottles and put money in the cans and all. I invest in the stock market, not in aluminum cans and bottles. And I don't want to be bothered putting this junk in my house and my garage. I'm very willing to do this, but I'm not paying anybody any money on deposits, period.
If you see your slide where the beaches are covered, that problem is solved because people want their 10 cents back.
I-
So they dispose
We don't
of
see
them.
bottles on our beaches.
I think too.
I see diapers, I see used diapers laying on.
I think too. Unfortunately, with the state of Florida right now, um, you've seen a lot of cities and counties, and now even whole states like California and New York. They do things like they ban single-use plastic items, so we can just stop it from happening. The state of Florida right now is trying to introduce legislation that would prevent cities from even being allowed to do that. So in terms of any other legislation related to waste and recycling and best practices of it, I doubt that would be able to come right now. Even with, where I worked in Satellite Beach, they did pass a resolution that said, hey, we support our local businesses adopting measures like this, but we can't institute it right now because the government is in so much flux and stuff as to where we might not even be allowed to enforce such a ban. So, yeah, not right now at least. Who?
Read a lot of letters from me in the newspaper and up in Tallahassee as well as I write.
Ma'am?
I was interested in the recycling, and so I printed out this from the Cape Canaveral website, and it had shredded paper and aerosol cans.
Ooh, aerosol cans. Shredded paper, I'm not sure, and Dan, I don't know if you want to speak to this too. Shredded paper is on here, but when I went to the MRF, they did not like shredded paper because it gets everywhere and it gets inside the machinery. I can't speak to the aerosol cans. Dan, can you speak to the aerosol cans?
2014 single stream recycler built that plant, and they took in items that waste management doesn't take in now.
Hmm.
So a year and a half ago, they took it over and they changed what they would accept and not accept.
Okay.
So like I said, what I say today might be different tomorrow. There's zero money in recycling, basically. We have to pay to get rid of it. No one accepts it anymore. There's no rebate. The rebate is so low or so minimal, it costs more to deal with it than it is to get any money back from it.
That's kind of sad. No. No to aerosol cans.
That's their facility, so they make the call. But like I said, what I say today might be different tomorrow. The market rebounds. We have other facilities. I have a facility in Ocala, and we still take glass. And there's a certain amount of glass you can put in asphalt and roads. We found out a supplier to sell it to, and they crush down the clear glass, make sand out of it, and put it on the beaches. So each facility is different, but you have to follow their guidelines because there's only one place in Warren County right now to take it. It's this place.
Sir.
I was going to say, yeah, just because the recycling isn't really economical anymore, just as a system, it really seems like the solution is preventative measures, like you said, from
Refuse.
using these products in the first place, instead of trying to figure out how we clean it up and deal with it. And a lot of cities, not even on a statewide level, but on a local level around the country, are banning single-use plastics. It's shown that it's extremely effective. It's working over
It is.
in places that are passing legislation. And while it's being talked about in Florida, what has been done or
Right. Um, and Josh just entered the room. Josh, if you want to add to what I'm about to say, please do. But so Cape Canaveral is working with Keep Brevard Beautiful. Has everybody heard of Keep Brevard Beautiful? Good. That's very good. KBB is very prevalent in this field. And they have a litter quitter program where they highlight local businesses who incentivize, hey, we use, like I believe Mustard's Last Stand is a good example. They use wood utensils instead of plastic or pasta straws or metal straws, getting rid of the single-use items, and then they promote that business for free online so more people can see it and whatnot. There's several businesses in Cape Canaveral, restaurants mainly, that are doing that right now, which is great. I think is upwards of 8. 8. Oh, Dan? Oh, the port is too? Very good. So that's cool. And what that does is that, and they went to these businesses already, and the city's gone to these businesses already just to say, hey, what are we doing? Nothing formal's been established yet, but is there just a discussion that can be had about this? Because it can be a big switch, and some people are hesitant to do it. But what that does before the city can even pass anything is it builds buy-in from the people that we want it most. So they can come to these future city council meetings and be like, it works for us. We should do it citywide. So, and there's just fear right now with the state government that they're going to say, Cape Canaveral, you can't ban your businesses from having these items. And then what are we going to do? But at least we've had, through organizations like KBB, that they've already started that process and do it on their own. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, it does. I think, even if, we can't get legislation passed right away, it's businesses being proactive and providing alternative solutions. So, yeah, there's always going to be some people that are going to take the plastic bag, but if
right.
you have options for people to not use them, then that's at
Mm-hmm.
least a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Actually, before this talk, just today, unbelievably, the state of New York said that they will be banning single-use plastic bags, which is, I believe, New York is either the third or I think it's the fourth most populous state in the United States after like California, Texas, Florida, which is great. California did it first, so that's really cool. And Hawaii, yep. So seeing stuff like that is super promising. The European Union recently banned single-use plastics by a certain date in the 2020s. So we're talking, millions, billions of plastic bags taken off the earth right there. So it can be done.
One thing with the plastic bags too, just that offer is a lot of the reusable totes that people are using are made from recycled materials,
Mhm.
but they're mixed material or have polypropylene, which means they're garbage themselves. And so it's a great idea at the end of the life cycle. If they're made cheaply, when that handle breaks or whatever,
Yeah, what are you gonna
it's
do?
not recycled, so it's going to get thrown away. And essentially, what we've done is made it even stronger plastic that's not going
Mhm.
anywhere. So that's one thing that
Yeah.
I've been working on, is trying to do create plant-based bags that are will last way longer, but are actually in the end are compostable or just about.
That's really cool. Thank you.
One of our conservatories in Pittsburgh, for the flower departments, they're trying to be more sustainable, and no plastic or wooden silverware,
Really?
they're using bamboo,
Bamboo.
because that's a very sustainable
Yes.
product.
It's the fastest growing plant on earth.
Right, so do bamboo instead of the wood, because wood's still losing sustainability with the trees.
Mhm. Yeah.
And stop using paper towels all the time.
Mhm.
Use your,
Cloth.
use a cloth, use an old washcloth or an old towel.
Mhm.
I probably buy 2 rolls of paper towels in a year.
Wow. It's good.
Cloths for everything. Rinse them out before you throw them in the washer and they're fine.
Ma'am.
I was wondering, I heard somebody else earlier talking about compost. Do we have any other programs for that?
No, we don't. And I don't know. I personally, I don't know of any offhand that I can tell you, unfortunately. So I'm sorry. Yeah.
Try to get involved with Satellite Beach.
Did you?
There's a
Yeah.
company that does it actually for Walmart's compactors now. They have it just for food.
Mm.
There's a company out there.
Satellite Beach did try and do that with Publix. They tried, but it's just a little bit too many hurdles to go through.
The master gardeners, we master gardeners teach the composting classes, and you have master gardeners here in all of your counties.
That's a great idea. We can.
That's the best thing to do with your shredded stuff from your shredder. Then send it out where somebody can piece it together and get your numbers, put it in your compost bin.
Hmm.
Compost bins are fine here. You don't put any animal fats or any of those type of meat or food sources, but you can do any plant-based material or paper tins.
Okay.
It's,
I'm gonna write that down. Master gardeners.
I think Seminole County has a composting program.
Do they?
I think so.
Gonna write that down too.
They did several years ago. I know for sure.
Other questions? Yes.
On your chart, you have do not recycle the plastic bags.
Mhm.
You referred several times in the conversation about Publix and Walmart and so forth. How can we stop the people who go in the hardware store, buy the 50-gallon bags, and they put all their stuff in that and throw it in the recycle bins? Is there something we can put on there also that those bags, that, you know, they tie them full and throw them in the bins?
Mhm.
Now, I guess I got a question there. When that big bag, 50-gallon bag, or 35, whatever it might be, when that gets to the recycle place, do they cut them open, or do those just get thrown in the trash? I mean, you might have milk bottles and cans inside of there.
So you're saying they get a 55-gallon bag and fill it up with the recycle?
Yes.
Recycle can.
It's what?
It'll probably get thrown out if it doesn't get fulfilled and just stored in.
Okay.
I know personally, I keep my guys away from tearing open bags, needles, broken glass.
Hmm.
You don't know what you get involved in with that. So I'm gonna say that most likely it won't get swept up as trash unless it got broken up before and it got scattered.
Okay. Because we at our condo, we have trying to push on that to not use those bags, because I've been saying that what happens is they just go, that ends up in trash, not in recycle, when it gets to the recycle place.
It's real dangerous for somebody to dig through a bag.
Understood. Yeah.
To answer your question, the first part of that question, how do you stop somebody from placing recyclable goods in a plastic bag in a recycling bin? Good question. It can be done. There's different types of lids that you can put on, but I've seen at Florida Tech, for example, they just recently outfitted all of our recycling bins with ones that have very small holes and clearly noted on the top, bottles. Pizza finds its way in there. It's extremely difficult to change human behavior and to get people to do the right thing. The best is, we're trying with these educational seminars like this, signage like this. Maybe a good idea would be blowing this up to that big. Making more stickers.
What about signage like that to go onto the actual bins?
Yes, exactly. Like the stickers I showed you.
We just have so many bins in our, we have one dumpster and probably 6 bins, and they're never full. And this is all through our entire complex.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not written on any of them because the lady downstairs might keep writing notes and taping it on the top of the doors so that they at least do it the right way. She's already stopped people when they were putting bin out. Don't put that bag in there. Empty the bag.
Yeah,
We're like the recycle police.
it's good.
Another recycle police thing.
Yeah.
We made a sign. It's like 2 foot by 4 foot tall. No plastic bags in recycle.
Something like that.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. People just are not.
Yep.
They just do what they want to do.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Question,
Yes.
Disney,
Disney.
apparently they do something with their trash.
I believe I know what you're talking about. The question is basically, what is Disney doing with their trash? Disney has, for their food waste, I think, because they generate a lot of food waste, I think they have almost like what's called a bioreactor, where they have components bacteria that breaks down the food waste inside a very large tank, and they can use that for energy, I think, which is really cool. As far as their own recycling programs, I don't know what they do. I know they just recently banned smoking from their parks like days ago. Yeah, and that's a whole nother topic. Cigarette butts are also one of the world's most, it might be actually the most littered item on the planet. Yeah. So that's good. And that goes back to the whole refuse. Like they are now in a position where they have made people have to refuse doing something that will knowingly litter or pollute the planet. So that's a good question. I would like to follow up myself on what Disney's doing. Yes, in the back.
What happens to what's on cruise ships, all that waste?
Cruise ships, they are not allowed to dump off the ship anymore. I think the only thing that they do dump is they compact their aluminum cans into disc and throw those overboard because those just simply rust into nothing. And they make sure it's like it looks just like that, where there's no wrapping and whatnot that can get mixed up with it. But they have to take it off the ship when they dock. They don't throw it away. They used to.
So then do we get it all?
It must go somewhere, yeah. Especially, Dan, that's a good question. Does the stuff that comes off the cruise ships go to our facilities in this county?
It's called regulated USDA waste. It's taken over Savannah,
Hmm.
Orlando, and burnt up.
Burnt up.
Anything internationally cannot be dumped in our landfill.
That's good to know. That was a good question. Yes.
So I think I understood that there's really nowhere practical for us to recycle glass at this point in time for this county.
Dan.
Not in this town, but we're trying, everybody's trying to adapt to the crisis that's going on. Like I said, we have a facility in Ocala, we're still taking glass. But we found a way to sell it. Here, I guess they haven't figured out a way to sell it, to be profit, to make money off it. It's costing them too much to try to take the project in and deal with it than it is to say, no, we're not gonna take it. Like I said, and it's a national crisis, everybody knows about it, everybody's working on it, so whatever goes on today might change tomorrow.
Hmm.
I know, let me point something out, if you notice at Publix and Walmart, they have big cardboard boxes in the front, and they let you return the plastic bags. Okay, so you never notice that?
I use that.
Yeah, you can put your plastic bags right back in there.
Yeah, as he points out, it is certainly a national crisis about what to do with all of our waste now. But I always like to think of it as an opportunity. You know, this is a chance to really reinvigorate what we do with our waste and how we live as a society. You know, are we going to choose to make things that my great 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 grandchildren will still be able to use, you know, because they picked it up off of a beach somewhere, or are we going to make things that can just naturally return to the earth or just not even use it at all? So that's what I like to think, because a lot of people get very down about this and what are we going to do? We're screwed, but not yet. I think, you know, we just got to work together, and hopefully, you know, you guys, like I said, you'll tell 20 people, they'll tell 40 people, they'll tell 60 people, and we'll get the word out. And these signs will start appearing around the city too, at all facilities. Feel free to take a picture of it too.
Seawall has finally started there was a lot of people complaining on Facebook because they went to paper straws now.
Oh, they did.
They did.
And they complained.
No, these are terrible, and someone wrote and said, what's the matter with your lips? Why do you have to have a straw? We grew up with paper straws.
Did you really? There you go.
By the way, Rusty's is before.
Good.
Those people over there.
Good. Yes.
The using pasta straws.
The recycling guides, could you put those in the grocery stores, and that way, you know, most people can see them then?
Like these or like that?
Maybe Publix or Winn-Dixie,
That's a good.
maybe,
The question was, can we put these in local food stores? We'll work on it. We'll maybe. Hard maybe.
We're getting a grant to pay for this. I mean, where's this money coming from to print all these? Is it grant
It comes from, I think, our normal budget.
from out of the normal budget?
Yeah. And these do not cost that much. It's just a foam piece, very durable.
I know, I just thought
Yeah.
possibly there was a grant from something, you know, government always has grants to do better
Mhm.
things.
Were you going to speak to the?
Yeah, Sunseed Co-op is the only food grocery store besides Dollar General in Cape Canaveral. Publix is actually outside. So we can recommend that they hang it in there, but they might not want to. We usually have to ask for permission to put anything on their board. So they might see it as directions they don't want to really follow or
Mm.
something they don't want in their store, but we could definitely recommend it to them. But the only store that, besides gas stations where you can buy produce or, small stuff is Dollar General and Sunseed. But we could definitely, Zach, we could definitely.
Sunseed is very sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, and those local restaurants I talked about, maybe if they're already doing stuff, maybe they'd be willing to put this in here. Beach beach crossovers were planned to put these on. Yeah. Yes.
So if I'm understanding this right, we gotta change our signs and so forth. No wine bottles, no beer bottles. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of the recycling.
This according to your sheet. According to your sheet, the rest looks really good. This line with the glass, that's all probably needed to really change. Yes, in the back.
Waste Pro also picks up yard waste. Is there any problems with that? Or?
You good with yard waste, Dan? Don't put it in plastic bags.
I wonder if we could get the restaurants to give us an incentive if we bring like our own Tupperware for doggy bags.
Instead of styrofoam carry.
I'm gonna write that down too.
Because some places do that.
The incentive is knowing that you're doing the right thing. That's a great idea.
Bring my own container.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
Some restaurants using the cardboard boxes,
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what it is.
but, yeah.
Are you guys speaking of those clamshells? You can throw those out.
The clamshells, yeah, throw those out.
Even the new ones, right?
Dan, the paper ones we don't want in the bins, right? These guys?
Yeah, some people are not aware that
It's
these
like,
are out.
it's like paper or cardboard.
There's a different one, a cardboard one out.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about.
that's what Rusty's gives us.
What is this, Dan?
Paper, that's how they, what they, recycle paper into. Like the cup holders at McDonald's give you the 4 holders to hold your drinks. That's what paper gets recycled into.
So this was my homework at one time, is what you're saying.
So
That's
do we
cool.
take that or not?
The question was, do you take, or could this be?
I mean, it's your take home dish, how come you're gonna be able to get it?
Yeah. See, this is where we go back to, let's just do these, and we'll be good. What, Tim? Yes. And like this box right here actually is soiled, as little as it is.
You can't get everything out of them. A lot of them have a lot of ridges and
We'll take one more question, and then we're just about out of time.
I just wanted to ask Waste Pro again. The people that pick up the recycled materials, I mean, if there's a computer on top of that, do they still have to pick up that bin, or can they take that computer off and set it down in the bin?
We offer the city electronic waste pickup.
Oh, okay. So that was good.
It's a separate, you don't put that in your can, it's a separate request. You would have to ask for it.
Did everybody hear that? So
They call track keys, it's open 24 hours, our website's open 24 hours a day too. We have a particular thing just for Cape Canaveral. It's called track keys, no one will look into that.
So Waste Pro does take electronics to recycle separately, but you have to put in a special request.
Yeah, and you can do that from our website. The link is on it.
Lisa, can you go back to the?
Actually, that question was really meant to be if the pickup people see something that they know is not recyclable, do they still have to go get up? Or can they leave it? No matter what.
I thought it was raining too.
If it's a big TV, I mean, they'll probably put it to the side, but I really refrain my guys from digging into a garbage can and separating stuff, but you get a needle stick, and
TRAC. Before everybody leaves, we just wanted to remind everybody about the Trash Bash with Keep of Our Beautiful. It's on Saturday, April 6, 2019 at 8 a.m. To 12 p.m. The 38th annual Trash Bash through by Keep of Our Beautiful will be on Saturday, April 6. Please go to that, starting at Cherry Down Park. So that's something that you should go to. It's a trash cleanup. Yeah. So, thank you everybody so much for coming. This was a pretty good turnout. Thank you. We have some goodies like I promised you. So if you'd like some, come up to the front. We have some metal reusable water bottles and some bags from Waste Pro.